Getting all around my room, my world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the World of Juice channel, and welcome to a very special and very interesting start to a series. So, you guys are familiar, if you've been around the channel for a while. If you're not, if you're new to the channel, welcome in. This series that I've done has been more of a one-off video type of thing. What I'm referring to is the Revival series. I've taken the Revival series in Madden 24 and on PC, and I would use some old roster mods to go back in time and revive the career of a certain player, whether that player is Blake Bortles or Michael Vick or whoever else that we've done in the past. I mean, there's been tons of players that Tavon Austin. I did a video on Tavon Austin, Denard Robinson. I've done a ton of different guys. So there is a playlist on the channel. I think it's under just Madden 24 rebuilds. I don't think I made a dedicated Revival series playlist, but it's on the channel in a playlist. I'm pretty sure it's Madden 24 rebuilds. If you go through that, you can find all the separate one-off Revival series videos. And basically what the Revival series is you take a player that their career either didn't go the way that maybe they wanted it to go, or maybe the draft analysis people thought that it would go, and they thought they'd be a lot better in the league than they actually were. Blake Bortles being a prime example, Trent Richardson an example. Guys like that, Tavon Austin, who had a fine career, but nothing to the level of what he was in college and even in high school with the greatest high school mixtape of all time. So what you do is you take that guy, you put them back on the team that drafted them, and then you try to build the team around them to an extent. The goal of the series isn't to win a Super Bowl. It's not to rebuild the team to win a Super Bowl. It's to rebuild the team to be good enough around that certain player to where they can become the highest overall player that they can be. So if that's a quarterback, you try to put them in the best positions to grow the best, put them in the best playbooks, put their best receivers, tight ends, offensive line, running back around them to have them grow and develop as best as they can, maybe win MVPs, maybe win Super Bowls. That's a bonus if you can do that. And then have them become like a 95 overall, whatever it may be. And so I had done a few episodes on that, and then I kind of stopped doing it because when we got to Madden 24, the cycle kind of ran its course and it died. And then we got to college football, and now Madden 25 has come out. But unfortunately, Madden 25 PC, the modding has not come yet. I have heard rumors that the Madden 25 modding community is starting to be getting into the files and starting to be able to mod Madden on PC. So once that comes, expect a lot of Madden modding content to come back to the channel. Once we're allowed to get back into the game and start downloading mods and putting them into Madden 25 on PC. So until that arrives, we're going to be stuck on the PS5, but I'm taking my idea with the Revival series and I'm blowing it up to a bigger scale. So basically, what this series is going to be, it's still going to be Revival series, but it is not just the revival of one player's career, it is the revival of entire team's career. So I've taken control of the Dallas Cowboys because the Dallas Cowboys have had a historic run, being one of the best teams in the 90s, winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. Great teams. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, all the great players on those Cowboys teams. And even back earlier in, like, not even just the 90s, in the 60s, the 70s, whatever it may be. So I've taken the Dallas Cowboys, who have in the 2000s, ever since the 2000s, have not really been that good. I think, what is it, like they've only made the playoffs twice or something like that since the 2000s. Whatever the crazy stat is. I don't know it off the top of my head. But they've kind of been on a run of bad luck for the past 25 years, you could say. So I've taken them as a team, since they're kind of down on their luck, but they're trying to look upwards. I've taken them, and I've gotten rid of their team. They're not the Dallas Cowboys that you know. Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott. No, none of those guys, except for Zeke is back. But I've changed their team, and I've added players at every single position that have either been forgotten by the league, forgotten by fans, maybe have run their course and aren't as good as they once were, a little bit past their prime. People have given up on them. Like, just whatever you can think of, I've added them to this team. Maybe they've done some bad stuff in the past. Whatever it may be, I've added them to this team, and instead of just one player, it's a full team of people that need their careers revived. And so what we're going to be doing in this, we're going to be trying to revive an entire team of NFL players' careers at the same time, but there are some more caveats. Basically, when we get to the offseason, when we get to free agency, there are rules. There are stipulations. So during the season, obviously, you know, there's 17 games, 18 weeks with 17 games to bye. Every win that we get in this series during the 17 games, we total $5 million. So if we win one game this year, we get $5 million. If we win 2 games, we get $10 million, and so on until we get to 7. If we go 17-0, we get, like, what is it, 85 million or something? 17 times 5, whatever. I think it's 85 million. So we get that much money to spend on free agents in free agency, or we could just save that money and then spend it on re-signing players on the team. Whatever it is, we can use that money to do whatever we need to do. Plus, obviously, the money that is given from the cap room the Cowboys already have. So, that is the first caveat. The second caveat is that you guys and me can decide one player every single week that can be added to this team. Now, obviously, they would have to fit the general theme of the team and have to have their career needed to be revived. But you can pick from guys that are already in the league that I would have to add to the team via trade or via free agent signing that would need to have their career revived. Or you can pick a guy that's out of the league that I would just have to create on the team. Like a guy like Trent Richardson, who's not in the game anymore. Or a guy like, who else is not in the game anymore that would need their career revived? Like Terrell Pryor or Jamarcus Russell. Guys of that ilk who are not in the game anymore, but could very well use a career revival. And speaking of those guys, I've already done career revivals of those guys in separate videos, but you could add them to this team if you choose to. And I could add them to the team if I choose to. One player per week. So, and then we can, like, give them a run on the team, see if they fit, and see if they're a good match for needing their career revived. So that is another caveat. Like I said, I could create them. And also, you can pick guys that are not even in the NFL, but at one point tried to be in the NFL, or maybe have talked about in the media of wanting to play in the NFL or thinking they could play in the NFL. Think of guys like LeBron James, who has said in the past he could be a good tight end in the NFL. Or think of a guy like Brock Lesnar, who was on the Minnesota Vikings practice squad trying to make it, but got cut. I think it was like 2005 or something like that, 2006. After he had left the WWE, he tried to make it on the Minnesota Vikings practice squad. He didn't make it, obviously. Or a guy like Roman Reigns, who was on Georgia Tech's team as Joseph Onawai and graduated and didn't make it in the NFL. Obviously became a wrestler and all that kind of stuff. Or think of a guy like Usain Bolt, who is the fastest man alive, or at one point was the fastest man alive. Think of how interesting that could be for a wide receiver on this team. And I know that if you guys are long-term viewers of YouTube, you know that this idea sounds very similar to a series that RBT did a long time ago. I think like 6 years ago, something like that. He's done a long time ago called The Rejects. And there are some influences from that series that I've taken and added to this, but it's also got my twist on it because of this thing. This not only is going to be a difficult series in general because of the players that we just have on this team in part, it's also a difficult series. It's probably my most difficult series I've ever done because I have raised the sliders of the CPU. It's not just base all Madden sliders anymore. It is all Madden difficulty, but my sliders are kept at base 50. We are all at 50. Everything from the passing skill to the tackling to the fumbling, whatever it may be, we are all at just base 50 for user skill. But the CPU skill has been bumped up to 75. So every user slide, every CPU slider is 75 instead of 50. And the minimum speed threshold is now 45 and not 50 to kind of make it a little bit better for trying to separate the really, really fast guys from the slower linebackers, corners, whatever it may be. So that has also been implemented. So not only do we have to try to win games to earn enough money to sign some good free agents in free agency, but also we have to try to win those games with this roster that we've put together while having the CPU juiced up a little bit to 75 on all of their sliders. It's not going to be easy. And if you've ever watched any single bit of gameplay from me, you know that I already am absolute garbage at these video games, especially Madden. And that's just at base all Madden 50-50 sliders. So you think that I suck with the normal base sliders? Now just wait when I have to use this roster, which isn't like horrible by any means. It's not like a bunch of 50 overall players. There's some talented players on this team, but I have to take this team and use them with the sliders at 75 for CPU. Oh, it's going to be unbelievably hard. It's gonna be unbelievably difficult. I'm probably not gonna win a single game. It's gonna be tricky. That is for sure. So I'm super excited for this series. The last thing that we have to do is meet the roster and go over everything. So I know this has been a super long intro, but I wanted to detail everything that was encompassing in this series so you guys could understand it from the get-go, so that going into the next episodes, you knew what to do, you knew the drill, you were ready to go. So it was a little bit of a longer intro, but I just wanted to make sure you guys had everything that you needed to know right there in front of you so you could be ready for the next episodes. So now it's time to meet this Dallas Cowboy team, and like I said, it is not the Dallas Cowboy team that you know and maybe or may not love. This is your Dallas Cowboy team. Now, I will say right off the bat, I am going to restart this save and do it differently because when I started this save file, I had chosen head coach instead of owner, and when I was making the rules for the series and I implemented the money rule, I think you need to be a owner to actually do that and give the team money. So I don't think you can do it as a coach. I'll check just to be sure, but I don't think you can do it as a coach. So I think I need to be the owner to give the team the money that we earn from wins. So I will restart the same. Everything will be the same. The roster will be the same. I will just be the owner and not the coach anymore. So I just wanted to point that out. What next episode you see this, and it's not Mike McCarthy anymore. It's the owner. So with that out of the way, this is the team. Now this team, like I mentioned in the intro, is comprised of a bunch of guys that either are past their prime or are just passed up on by NFL GMs or executives or whatever. People think they're not good anymore. People thought they were never good. Are big-time NFL draft busts. There's a couple in here from that. Or guys that just, like whatever you can think of. Guys that are just not thought of in the highest of regards in the NFL anymore. And maybe the most significant of that is our starting quarterback, at least for right now. It is Mr. Russell Wilson. Dallas Cowboys, let's ride. So Russell Wilson, for now, is our starting quarterback. He's 35 years old. He is certainly not the Russell Wilson on the Seattle Seahawks that won a Super Bowl and went to another one right after and lost to the Patriots. This is not the same guy. He's still okay in the game. Who knows how he's going to be in real life this year? He's still okay attribute-wise in the game. His ratings are fine. They're nothing special anymore. And that 35-year-old mark definitely hurts. But that is right now our starting quarterback. Our other quarterbacks on this roster are Daniel Jones and Trey Lance. Two guys that really, in Trey Lance's case, really never got a shot. In the time he got a shot, he got hurt and just he never really became what NFL teams wanted him to become, especially the 49ers. And then Daniel Jones was never good and still got paid a ton of money for no reason and is on this team because of that, which also hurts our salary because I'm pretty sure he still has his contract unless when I changed it. I don't know how it works when you go and manually change rosters. Does it still keep his money? He's still getting paid a lot of money that he doesn't deserve to get. Yeah, so it does keep his contract. I wasn't 100%. I thought that it did, but I wasn't 100% sure. So those are the quarterbacks that we have. Now, obviously, if you want to give me another quarterback option from somebody that's in the league already or somebody that I have to create, then you can do that, and we don't have to ride with any of these guys. But these are just the base guys that I chose on this team. Running back, we've got Austin Eckler. At one point, a fantasy machine, but in recent years, dealt with injuries. He's gotten slower. He's just not the same player he used to be, so he makes an appearance on this team. Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, and Leonard Fournette, for obvious reasons, all three of these guys are on this list because, for the most part, all three of them have one thing in common. They're just not the same running back they used to be. All of these guys at one point were very highly sought-after running backs, and now they are just not those guys anymore. They're older, they're past their prime, they don't have that step anymore. They're all on this team. Wide receiver might be the most interesting one. We've got Calvin Ridley. You might be thinking Calvin Ridley's still a good player. He is still a fine player, but he's on the Tennessee Titans, which is not good for any receiver. He is maybe a little bit past his prime. Teams might not want to take a shot at him because of his past history with gambling. Whatever you think of that, whatever it is, we've got him on the team, and he's our number one wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy is also on this team for obvious reasons. Michael Thomas, the iconic slant man, is on the team, and he's had tremendous success in the NFL. He's also had tremendous downsides in the NFL. Tremendous failures with injury upon injury. Will he ever play another game? He has played games recently. He hasn't been the same receiver. He's had foot injuries and ankle injuries, and he's just had a ton of different things happen to him in his NFL career. He's also the all-time NFL catch leader in a season now. So, like, he's had the highest of highs. He's also had the lowest of lows. So he makes an appearance on this team. We also have Kadarius Toney for memeable reasons. We have Elijah Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster, who were both thought at one point to be really, really good NFL receivers, and now not so much. So those, you can really see the obvious reasons why we have all these guys on the team. Offensive line, we have David Bakhtiari. Yes, David Bakhtiari is an 87 overall. He is, and he's superstar development. But he's also 32 years old and not signed by an NFL team in real life. So we're giving him that second chance, hence the revival portion of the series title. We're reviving his NFL career, giving him a second chance, letting him have another ride at a championship. Lyle Collins, thought to be a good player at one point, not so much anymore. Ted Karras, Isaiah Wynn, gets hurt a lot, has fragile paper ankles. Jack Conklin on this team as well. Maybe the most iconic draft bust in the offensive line, recent memory. Alex Leatherwood makes an appearance on this team. We've got Trey Turner, past his prime. Bradley Bozeman, never had a prime. Laken Tomlinson, fine player, not great. Kelvin Beachum, another big bust of recent history. So, I mean, you can see the direction I went in terms of this roster building. We've got Mercedes Lewis, who is a 40-year-old tight end. Yeah, still playing. So talk the prime example. When you think of players past their prime, you think of Mercedes Lewis. He's 40 freaking years old. We've got N'Keal Harry, another big draft bust, drafted by the Patriots as a wide receiver. Sucked. Now he's a tight end. Jimmy Graham, one of the best tight ends of the 2010s, has regressed heavily in his older age. Not even in the league anymore, at least not on a team. At least unless he's on the Saints. I can't remember exactly. Is he still on the Saints? I know he went back there. I can't remember if he's on the Saints now or not. Whatever it is, he sucks now. He's old, bad, he's on the team. Defensively, we've got some interesting players. Start with the linebackers. We've got Devin Bush, thought to be a great pass rushing linebacker from Michigan. Did not end up being that. We've got Melvin Ingram, very good player in his day, not anymore. We've got Eric Kendricks, again, very good player for a couple of years on the Vikings, not so much anymore. Injuries have helped that, and other things have helped that. Deion Jones, Falcon, great, not so much anymore. Shaq Leonard, at one point, one of the better linebackers in all of the NFL, again, not anymore. Then you've got Justin Houston, one of the better players of his era, old, bad, on the team. Randy Gregory was thought to become, he had a weird career because he started slow and then it got better, but now it's bad again. He's older now. He's on the team for those reasons. And then we have that's it. I was gonna say then we have Deion Jones, but we already said Deion Jones. So that is our linebacking core. And a lot of these guys are on the team, like I've been saying, for obvious reasons. Safety, Jamal Adams, meme. We've got Micah Hyde, old. We've got John Johnson III, old and not as good anymore. We've got Keanu Neal, obvious why he's on the team. We've got defensive line help like Leonard Floyd, not great right now. Cleveland Farrell, big draft bust. Grady Jarrett was good on the Falcons, not good anymore. We've got Linval Joseph, good on the Vikings, old. Then we've got Solomon Thomas, old and not good. Zadarius Smith, one of the better pass rushers in his day, not good anymore. Still has a good development trait, but not good anymore. Dante Fowler, big draft bust. Carl Lawson, injuries have kind of hindered his career. He could have been good, but like I said, injuries kind of ruined that. Cornerback room, we have Tre'Davious White, who on the Bills was one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Not so much anymore, and I might even just take his X Factor away because I don't feel like he even really deserves an X Factor at this point. And that's hindering my stuff because having an X Factor corner is really, really awesome. But he has no business having X Factor. He doesn't even have business having Superstar, to be fair. So we're going to give him star development. He has no business having Superstar or X Factor. So Tre'Davious White having star is much better. We have Stephon Gilmore, won a Defensive Player of the Year on the Patriots, one of the better corners in the 2010s. Old now. So he's on the team. We've got Xavier Howard, not signed by an NFL team, one of the better corners on the Miami Dolphins for the past couple of years, not signed by anybody for off-the-field reasons, and he's old, but he's on this team. Patrick Peterson, old. Jeff Okudah, could consider him a draft bust from the position he was drafted in. I wouldn't consider him a draft bust. Draft bust is a weird term because you call somebody a draft bust by the position they were drafted in, even if they don't necessarily play horrible in their NFL career. It's unfortunate for Okudah because he was drafted so high I think it was by the Lions, right? Whatever it was. He was drafted so high in the NFL draft, and he didn't live up to that level of pick, but he's still a solid NFL corner. So calling him a draft bust feels a little harsh for me, but if you want to call him a draft bust, that's totally fine. So he's on this team. Kicker and punter, we've got Mason Crosby, one of the better kickers of recent memory. Old. Percy Harvin, had a moment in the sun, bad now. So that is the team that we are working with. I don't think we have any good guys in the practice squad. I don't think there's anybody here that really matters. I do want to go, okay, I was going to say, I want to make Michael Thomas the slant receiver for obvious reasons, because he's the slant man. So we are going to have him be the slant guy, and that is the team that I've built. I think that's everybody. I could go, there might be somebody that's not showing because they're down the board, so we'll go through by NFL roster and show you guys the official full team. So we talked about all the quarterbacks, we talked about all the running backs, we talked about, Julio Jones is not a guy that I mentioned because he was behind Juju Smith-Schuster. Julio on this team, one of the best receivers, maybe the best receiver of the 2010s, old, bad on this team. Tight ends, we talked about all the tight ends. We talked about all the offensive linemen. We talked about these two guys, all of these defensive line guys, talked about the D tackles, talked about all the outside linebackers, middle linebacker. Okay, so we've talked about pretty much everybody. I was just making sure that there was nobody. It looks like Julio Jones is the only guy that didn't show up on the adjust lineup screen because he was below Juju. So that is the team that we are working with. Now let me quickly check, like I was saying. I don't think it's possible to add funds as a coach. Is it? Toggle autopilot, clear penalties, and raise morale. I think you need to... I'm going to do some experimenting. And if I can add funds, you used to be able to add funds as an owner. So I'm going to go and add funds. If we win games, I will add funds to the team when we win, however many wins we get. That's adding to our cash base, as long as we're able to do it. And I have forgotten to mention that there are some extra bonuses if we were to win big games. So if we were to win a playoff game, that is $10 million per playoff win. Because obviously winning a playoff game is better than winning a regular season game. So you get double the money. So for every playoff game we win, we get an extra $10 million. If we were to somehow win the Super Bowl, we get $50 million because it's the Super Bowl, obviously. So winning the Super Bowl, you get more money. So we would earn an extra $50 million on top of whatever we would win during the season with the playoff run and everything like that. We would add an extra $50 million for winning the Super Bowl. And then for every individual player award we win, whether that's MVP or Coach of the Year or Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, whatever it is, and even Best Running Back, best and all the best awards, Best Position awards, we get an extra $1 million for every. Even MVP doesn't equivalent to or equal any extra money, doesn't get you any more. They're all the same. All the awards are the same. So if we win, let's say we win 3 individual awards in year 1, we would add an extra $3 million to whatever total we have during the regular season, and if we make the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So those are the financial details that I have added. I forgot to add that at the beginning in the intro part, but that is an extra thing that we have added. So with all of that being said, I'm excited to get this done, and I'll show you guys the sliders just to show you that I actually did change them. So, as I said, our player skill, the user player skill, is all base 50 on all Madden. It is all base, whatever they start with. But I did go in and manually bump everybody's CPU skill up to 75. So, QB accuracy is 75. Pass blocking, wide receiver catching, run blocking, ball security, pass defense reaction time, interceptions, pass coverage, tackling. All of that is 75 now instead of 50. So, it's going to be even more difficult for me to play defense and to play offense because I suck in general, and now I have to try to go after these guys that are even boosted higher. I didn't change anything else here on the special team stuff because I wasn't sure if this works for CPU. It doesn't specifically say CPU like this one does. It just says special teams. So I was assuming that it meant both us and the CPU. So I didn't change anything like that. That's just all 50. And then I did, like I mentioned, I lowered the minimum player speed threshold from 50 to 45 to kind of give just a little bit of a boost to the actual fast guys in the NFL and separate them from the guys that aren't as fast. So that is the only other change that I made. I didn't go down here and change anything like that. Everything that I changed is what I mentioned to you just right now. So those are the slider changes. And the last thing that I want to mention is I thought about changing the draft class strength down to weak or very weak for every single position, just to make it even more difficult for me to draft and rebuild this team. But then I thought that would hinder the rest of the league as well, and we're really not trying to hinder them. We're just trying to hinder ourselves. We're trying to make it harder for us, not for the rest of the teams around the league, because then that would just kind of bring everybody down closer to our level, which is not what we want to do. So I chose to keep it at normal so that if we get a really, really good draft class, then that benefits the entire league, not just us. So I kept it at normal. But that is everything I think I want to mention for this opening episode of the series. Free agency, like I said, if you want me to Bring in a guy that you think should be on this team, maybe a guy like Robert Woods, who had a time where he was a really, really good player, not so much anymore. He's 32-year-old, 76 overall. He's bad. Maybe a guy like Cordell Patterson, who at one time was really, really good. He's even the freaking leading kick return scorer of all time in the NFL. So if you want me to bring him to the team, I can do that. Guys like Chandler Jones, off the field issues, but at one point he was one of the better pass rushers in the league. Guys like that. I mean, anybody on here is up for grabs if you want me to grab them and add them to this team, and then we can have them try out. And also, like I mentioned, guys that aren't in the NFL or not in the league anymore. Guys like that. Like if you want me to create LeBron James, I will create LeBron James. Now I will create him as his age nowadays, so he'll be 39 years old, 40 years old, whatever it may be. It's not going to be prime LeBron James, but he'll be LeBron James. It'll be his height, his weight, his age, and I'll give him good strength because he's a strong player, obviously. If you want me to create Terrell Pryor or Jamarcus Russell, I will create those guys and add them to the team. Now, they won't be very good, obviously, but they'll be on the team, and we'll give them a ride. Just stuff like that. So I hope you guys are excited for this because I really, really am excited for this. I'm also probably more excited because I'm excited to see the slider difference. I've played some games on just base all Madden difficulty, like the Tampa Bay series going on the channel as well, and that can be pretty difficult because I'm not very good. So I'm very curious to see how much of a difference it is when the sliders are boosted from 50 to 75 on everything for the CPU. Are they going to be just so much more dominant that I can't even move the football? That's a possibility. So I'm very, very curious about that, but I'm also excited for you guys to have an input on this series. You guys basically control who's on this team. You can tell me if you want me to cut a player if you don't think they're doing good. You can tell me to add a player like I mentioned where I can create them or whatever it may be. Whatever you want, I will do with those in terms of this roster for this series. So I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited. I cannot wait to get this going. Yeah, I can't wait. This is going to be super, super fun. It's going to be my most challenging rebuild series of all time because of the slider difficulty, of the roster in general that we have put together. It's going to be very, very, very fun, and I cannot wait for you guys to have your input as well. So without further ado, it is that time of the episode to end it. I am super excited for this one. I hope you guys are too. If you enjoyed this episode, leave it a like, subscribe to the channel, join the Juice Club, comment down below your thoughts on the series, maybe even some early thoughts on players you want me to add, whatever it may be. Comment that down below, and I will take that all into consideration because you are all on the board of representatives, the board of executives in this series. You make decisions on the roster, and I agree with you or disagree. We can have those discussions, whatever it may be. But that is going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I truly appreciate it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.